concerned, and actually we're very shocked at the lawyers who are being hauled in for questioning. As far as the bar is concerned, it is an interference with the duties of a lawyer. Mr. Velan is now actually the third lawyer who has been hauled in the last 1 week. We are very concerned. That we know of. We are very concerned about this. I have in fact this morning sent a letter to the IGP, and we hope that this hauling in of lawyers will stop. Velan? Sulaiman?
As a lawyer myself and as a member of the Bar Council, I'm totally surprised that the police still have not learnt, despite the existence of a legal unit within the police itself, about the job of a lawyer defending a client. Because in order for a lawyer to defend his client, the client must know that under no circumstances can a lawyer reveal anything that has passed between the lawyer and the client. We have repeated this point to the police several times, yet the police still keep calling us in. We are not complaining about the treatment. I'm sure Mr. Velan was correctly and properly treated, but what we are objecting to very strongly is the fact that a lawyer is being called in and asked questions about relationships or statements or communications made between him and the client. This should never happen, and people in authority should realize that in order for a lawyer to defend his client, for a client to depend on his lawyer, there must be utmost respect for solicitor-client privilege. Never forget that one day anybody in power can be facing a court of law and must know that he has a lawyer whom he can depend upon, who will not be forced to reveal statements. Whether you're the Prime Minister or the IGP, never forget that you one day might be in the same position of facing investigation, prosecution, and you need a decent, independent lawyer to defend you.
And we see these acts as acts that interfere with the independence of the lawyer. We see it as an act of intimidation, an act which could amount to threatening lawyers into revealing information which the police know they cannot reveal. And we think that it's an interference in the whole criminal justice system. It affects the whole system if lawyers are not free of fear and cannot act in the best interest of the client free of fear. So we think that this is something that must stop immediately. And as I said, I've written to the IGP. I really hope that steps will be taken to cease such acts.
Adding on to what my president has said and also my colleague Tuan Haji Sulaiman, the first thing I'd like to state is yes, we were treated respectfully, so we have no quarrel on that. But I think we ought to remind ourselves that the criminal justice system has got various stakeholders. One is the law enforcement agencies, one of the other components is the legal profession. And as far as the legal profession, the very fundamental part of the legal profession is the right of access to counsel. And if you want to talk about right of access to counsel, you're talking about a client being able to repose confidence in a professional relationship. Now, if the very basis of that is eroded, then there is no right of counsel, and that affects the very existence of the criminal justice system in this country. I think that must be recognized, and there's no two ways about it. There's no compromise, there's no halfway measures. It is a fundamental that cannot be compromised on, and I think that has to be recognized by the authorities in this country.
How long did the question take?
It took about an hour.
About an hour, yes.
Well, they asked certain questions in respect of my professional relationship with my clients, and I was unable to answer it because of my professional duties to my client.
So you didn't answer any?
We declined to answer them. Sorry?
How many questions?
I don't think we should disclose that. Yeah?
So they were persistent in getting you?
Well, they had knowledge of my professional relationship with 3 different witnesses, and all 3 were my clients. It's not just one particular person they're looking at. They're looking at 3 different persons, and all 3 were my clients.
Who was it?
I think at this stage it would be a bit inappropriate. Yeah.
Were you summoned by the police to come in?
Yes, I was served a notice 111 yesterday at 2:50.
I think what we are trying to say ultimately is, if the police are aware of the law, which is the question of privilege, and that information cannot be disclosed, what is the reason for hauling in the lawyers if it is not to intimidate? That's our concern.
And the President and I of the bar and I are here because not that we are bothered who the client is, not that we are bothered who the lawyer is. We are bothered that a lawyer per se is being called in, and that is why the Bar Council is here to lend its support and its standing behind the lawyer in order to show that the Bar Council definitely deprecates and is against any form of intimidation, no matter how polite it is. The mere fact of calling in a lawyer to take a statement, as far as we are concerned, is intimidation, and that is definitely not on. We won't stand for it. The law is very clear. A lawyer cannot answer unless his client expressly allows him to. And the cases have stated this express consent must be in writing before a lawyer can say anything at all. The lawyer has absolutely no option. So unless the police can show a written consent from the client, and the lawyer has the opportunity to clarify with the client that in fact he's authorizing the lawyer to say something, the lawyer cannot say anything. No matter how important it is for national security or whatever it is, the client's interest is paramount, and the lawyer has to act in the client's interest. He has got no choice in the matter.
One thing everybody seems to overlook is that this privilege is not to protect the interests of the lawyers. This privilege is to protect and promote the interests of the client. You cannot have a professional relationship where the client is unable to repose confidence. It is not our privilege, it is the client's privilege. Right? It is not about lawyers, it is about protecting clients' interests.
The system will break down if you do not respect that. And I believe they understand that, and that's the law anyway. So, which is why I question why our lawyers are being called in.
It's as if they have to do some ritual mantra in every case. Call in the lawyer, knowing full well that the lawyer is duty bound to take the stand, that he cannot answer anything. I do not know why after so many times the Bar Council has come out to maintain this position, they are still calling lawyers. It is a waste of manpower. These are very highly qualified officers. They should be fighting crime, not calling lawyers and trying to get lawyers to break the law that way.
Well, I have actually written to the IGP today mentioning all the 3 cases, and I hope that it will stop with this.
Any other course of action that you can take?
As
Like,
the
let's
Bar
say-
Council is concerned, we can make a lot of noise, and we're making a lot of noise about this.
But we are confident that the police will cooperate and finally learn that they cannot keep pushing lawyers around, and it's counterproductive to do that. I mean, we are all part of the same justice system, the police, the prosecution, the lawyers, we are all part of the system. And each part of the system has to recognize and appreciate the system. It cannot try and subvert the workings of the system just for an immediate advantage. Because you get an immediate advantage, but the whole system breaks down. Yeah, is it worth paying that price for it?
And you cannot use this to instill fear in lawyers and to discourage them from taking up cases. That's the other aspect that's important to remember.
Is this the first time for the Bar Council to send a letter to the IGP to express their...
Recently, as far as I know, but I'm sure...
No, we have done it before when lawyers have been called up.
This is not the first time.
Yes.
This is always...
In fact, about, I think not too long ago, about 10 years ago, in the case of Irene Fernandez, the same situation occurred to me, and the Bar Council President then, upon Hendon, issued a press statement calling upon the IGP to recognize the right of lawyers to defend their clients. The same issue was canvassed 10 years ago.
More than 10 years.
More than 10 years ago.